welcome to this week's episode of Chasing the Whimsy. I'm your host, Ben. No Liam this episode. This was a special episode that I was able to get. So Liam's in school while we're recording, and this will come out on Wednesday. It's going to be an interesting one. If you guys liked a couple of weeks ago, we had Greg Allen Martin, and you like me doing these, some of these different interviews. I think you guys are going to have a fantastic day today. Chasing the Whimsy at its core has always been about sharing, telling stories, relating, and growing through others' experiences. While researching for today, I couldn't help but become fascinated with our guest's life and journey. Born in Russia, she grew up studying and had a passion for music and dance. Despite the love of the arts, she found her calling and pursued a path in journalism, wanting to find the truth and tell its story. A woman in a male-dominated society and industry, she had to fight to find the real truth and twice as hard be taken seriously. Motivated and fearless, she broke the sexist barriers and proved she was a great journalist and reported on some of the biggest stories of the time. Leaving behind a respectful career in journalism, she immigrated to the U.S., where she reinvented herself and rededicated her life's work. Returning to the arts and singing, she would find success as vocalist in 2023's Grammy Award winning album by White Sun. She also dedicated herself to philanthropy. She seeks to help others and spread her vision through storytelling. Today, our guest is ALYA. How are you doing today?
I'm awesome, Ben. Thank you for having me.
Your journey is fantastic, and when you showed interest in coming on, I like to kind of deep dive on the guest, and your deep dive spanned like days into weeks. You have a fascinating life and career. What I think is exciting about having you here today is I podcast right now with my 14-year-old son and my 4-year-old. I want to have her on. And with my 4-year-old daughter, I like this idea of having you on, especially as we get to know you more, is I love the idea of just powerful women breaking barriers and doing what they love, and doing their part to just shape the world. So I want to be able to show her examples of just fantastic and amazing women. So I appreciate you taking the time to speak with me today.
Of course, that's a great idea. I mean, when I was growing up, sadly, I didn't have a role model. Obviously, I had my grandma, I had my mom. They were sort of iconic women in my life at that time. But I wish somebody would point out to someone and said, okay, well, you actually can be this and you can be that and everything else you want. But that's amazing. I really admire you as a dad. It's awesome.
It's interesting. And I think more when I had the daughter, do my eyes open up more to the struggles that females and women have. And now reinventing myself as a podcaster, having only done this for just over a year, and telling stories, I want to be able to tell her like profound stories that she can just grab onto, to just she starts to develop. I would love to see her find that there are no limitations for her as a girl, or moving and just growing up. As a journalist in Russia, it couldn't have been easy for you as a female. What kept you pushing to excel in journalism in Russia?
Well, as you mentioned in your intro, I always had passion for music. And when time came for me to pick my higher education, which was university, and back then I was in Russia, I really wanted to go to pursue music or theater, but my family wasn't very excited about that opportunity because, my mom said, well, that's not a skill. How are you going to make money? And we sort of had I was such a good girl when I was growing up. I finished my school with gold medals. You don't have this in the United States, but it's like when you straight A student across the charts. So you're kind of finishing up like the first in the school. So I had a gold medal in school, and I also was national winner of several competitions in languages and some other subjects. So by the time I was about to graduate from my high school, I already had several scholarships in several universities. So I could become a lawyer, I could become a journalist, I could become anything, but I didn't have the scholarship in like music or dance. So I had a trade-off with my mom. I said, okay, well, I really want to get out from my little town because I grew up in a very tiny, sleepy town south from Moscow. And so I want to go to Moscow. I want to try to dream big, and I will go pursue journalism, but I still going to be doing music. So I went there, and lucky for me, I got to the journalism faculty, which wasn't very easy. I received full paid scholarship. And from that, I have this quality in myself, which I'm very proud of. And I'm embracing my children, because I'm mom as well, have the same, and kind of celebrate this. I'm very persistent, very perseverant. And if I'm in a game, I'm going to go until I win. I mean, there is no other object for me. I'm not dropping off. I'm not giving up. I'm just keep going. So as soon as I was in journalism faculty, I wanted to be the best in terms of, I studied as hard as I can. And as soon as I realized that the best study for journalism would be actually go and work, I got the job. And from now on, I was just trying to be the best, and until I immigrated to the United States.
What were some of the big stories that you wrote about or that you broke while you were as a journalist?
Well, a bunch. So to begin with, when I got my first job, which was actually a pretty big job for the little girl, I was 18 years old, and I became a special correspondent for the National News Agency. And for whatever reason, they decided that I'm great fit to be a military correspondent. So they put me in a criminal division, and I started from, kind of like first writing stories about like criminal things that were happening nationally and internationally. And then they put me in a special correspondent pool of journalists who were traveling with Ministry of Defense. And I worked with Ministry of Defense for almost 5 years, which a very hard job. And I've been everywhere. I reported on every single, I reported on Beslan Swedge, if you remember that. It was a huge international story. I was reporting the story about Kursk submarine. You probably heard about that as well. So, almost when you work in a news agency, even though you're sort of within your topic, you always go and report on other subjects. So for all my years working as a journalist, I touched every single aspect of Russian, political life, I would say political and military. And it was exciting time. I was very young. It was very interesting, but the music was always with me, even in those crazy times.
Why do journalism in the military politics and not maybe in like the entertainment field or in that area?
When I was entering the journalism field, the music industry in Russia was still in very strange post-Soviet state. Okay. And same was with everything that has to do with entertainment industry. So it was very undeveloped, very funny, didn't look serious to me at all. So, I just didn't take it seriously. It didn't look promising to me. Obviously, as I was growing up as a journalist, the industry itself was developing, but even when it was on the high peaks, it was nothing close that you have here in the United States.
Right. If you stayed in Russia and you didn't immigrate to the U.S., do you think you would have continued to just excel? What were some of the goals that you could have achieved had you stayed as a journalist?
I don't think that would be an option for me at all. And although I wasn't planning to leave my homeland, even when I was, and I don't know, I was sort of kind of, dreaming and manifesting about being somewhere bigger and stronger and more exciting. I've never sort of was thinking that, I really have this solid plan to go out of the country, because I was very successful in my field. But I had a pretty successful career as a journalist. Right before I came to United States, I was a news presenter on the national radio. And I worked in Parliament as the PR advisor. So, I mean, I had a good career, but I became, I would say, a little bit, I don't know, I lost my trust in the journalism in Russia. When I started out as a journalist, it was a different time, and we had sort of freedom of speech, and we had opportunity to learn from bigger brothers and sisters from UK or United States. But by the time I finished up my faculty and I was working as a full-time journalist, and it changed a lot. So it just became not as exciting, not as interesting, not as honest. And I started thinking about escaping, which I ultimately did.
Then that's fair. It is interesting because how long did you were you in journalism?
About 10 years.
10?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So a lot of stuff happening, especially in the military political side of things.
Well, in everything,
Yeah.
I belong to this very funny generation that sort of were witnessing the revolution that was happening when we had everything in analogs, and then there was a digital time. I mean, I remember old cell phones, or I remember time when we didn't have internet. Maybe some of your listeners will be very surprised to learn, but yes, there were times when there were no iPads. So a lot were changing, not just in political landscape in Russia, but in the world.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm very lucky to be witness of that. It's sort of like living inside the history book.
Oh, for sure. It's fascinating how much everything just expands, even in 10 or 20 years. I mean, I just look back from when I was a kid versus when my son's a kid now, and it's like everything was different.
Yep.
Was there ever a moment that you wanted to quit journalism, or were you ever asked to take more of a traditional female role and be more of like a family unit?
I was never asked, although culturally in Russia, I would say it's more old-fashioned sort of role when the man leads the way and the female is supportive. But there were a couple moments in my career which sort of made me move from one place to another, because, I worked a lot as a correspondent as a news agency. Then I went to radio, then I tried a newspaper, then I went on TV, and then ultimately advertisement and PR relationships. There were a couple moments when I wanted to do something like, risky or try something like that they didn't like. They would say, why are you doing that? Go find a husband, go just, have kids. Why do you need that? So there were things like that, obviously. But there was not the reason why I decided to move from journalism. It was my personal sort of dissatisfaction and just desire, I guess, try something different that will not have borders, that will not have limitations, and will give me more freedom, which art became ultimately.
With the losing of trust of the government and of the time, when you look back now at Russia, do you still see like the essence of what it was to be Russian versus like outside of the political side? Do you still identify as a Russian, and what does that mean to be Russian?
Well, I'm an American citizen, so I would say at this point, I think I'm more American than Russian,
Mhm.
but there are certain things that I cannot take out of myself, which more I more identify them as my just personal trait.
Mhm.
Like, I'm very hardworking. I'm very honest. I'm very principled. But I think it's not like specifically Russian
Right.
qualities to speak. So, I
Would
mean,
those have been qualities that you would have uh, learned or gathered in your youth while like living there?
uh, it's just, we come from our families. I guess
Yeah.
this is how my family raised me. This
Okay.
is my dad used to work for military, so I grew up in a very strict household, and on top of that, my mom was religious, my grandma was very religious, so we were very strict, we were very organized, we had a very grounded and strong values, what is good and what is bad. So obviously I brought it with me. But I don't know, if I would ask my friends or my family what is Russian in me, they probably would say that I'm very kind.
Mhm.
And I don't know how many people can relate, especially in this political landscape, and identifying Russian as kind. But I can tell that the majority of Russian people actually genuinely very kind.
Mhm.
They will open the house for you. They will invite you. They will put the best food and drinks on the table to make sure that you're happy, and they will give you the last rope. I mean, this is, I guess, something that I would say is Russian, which sadly not many people can experience because of difference between what is politics versus what are people.
Mhm. Because I think as 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 an immigrant, I think it's in I don't know. So and that's kind of the reason I asked the question. And I apologize if it was weird or a little off-putting. Um, but as an immigrant, it's I think it's important that you remember like some of your roots and remembering like where you came from. So I think that's kind of where I was trying to go with that particular
Oh,
question.
it's
Like,
very important. Very
yeah.
important. I celebrate my roots. I tell my children where we came from. I did like the whole genealogical research
Mhm.
until 16th century. I know exactly what my ancestors were. And, I celebrated even in my art and my music. Several records that I put out were clearly inspired by Slavic melodies. And,
Mhm.
the Russian Empire has a huge cultural heritage.
Mhm.
Even though I might not like what's happening in the international field,
Yes.
I mean, I'm still who I am. And
Mhm.
there's so many beautiful, wonderful things that has to do with, Russia. And I even not call myself Russian because when I was born, it was still Soviet Union. And there is a big difference. With people who were born in Soviet Union, they completely understand what I'm telling about because we were not separating ourselves from different nations out there. I grew up thinking that some, Georgian dishes were Russian dishes because it was just, we were very multinational sort of country. We liked
Mhm.
everything. There was not such a thing, you this or you that. It was like, for me, person that had Asian look was Russian, or, my grandma, she was Ukrainian. So I myself combined several cultures in me, and I'm very proud of it. I mean, I love everything from Ukraine. I love something from Russia. I mean, I grew up with a different mindset,
Mhm.
and when that's why I would probably even prefer say that I'm a Soviet person.
Okay.
Mine as the communist thing that sometimes people start asking me. I'm like, guys, you have to read the history books. The communism was already so far away from me when I was born.
Right.
I just got
Um,
good stuff.
yeah. The culture uh, in Russia, because like it's interesting because people still want to study the language. The architecture is beautiful. Like you have some of the most beautiful like landmarks over there. So culturally, I agree. It's a beautiful beautiful country, and I don't know as much, but for the little things I do know, I have no problem with. I love the culture of Russia.
This is why, this is why the road for me to become an artist actually became so attractive, because there is something on this planet that should be unifying. And I found for myself, through my personal self-reflection, that the art, the music, the culture, this is something that doesn't have to separate us. There is a way for us to find common ground without fighting, without creating common language. It's already here.
And you do a lot of that in your music. Before we get into your music, what was the moment that you realized that you wanted to just reinvent yourself and get back into music and the arts?
The immigration itself, because when I moved to the United States, everything changed so dramatically. I mean, I quit journalism. I was spending a lot of time as the homestay mom. I was raising my little children, and all these changes, they sort of made me think that this is the time where I have to decide if I'm going together with my dream or I'm letting my dream go. And plus, the music industry at the time was changing as well. We got all the streaming platforms. It became so much easier to release music. You could do it, like everyone could do that. Right. So all these things sort of pushed me really hard on a stage. And, I found my team, I found my sound, I released first album, and then I started releasing single by single, experimenting with different genres and different people, sort of, until I surprisingly found myself on the Grammys red carpet.
You have played with a couple of different genres, and it's fascinating. What I appreciate from the music is you still do music videos. Because you don't see a lot of music videos. I mean, I remember growing up when we had like MTV and VH1, and like that used to be part of like my daily routine, is like, let's watch a music video. And all your videos are amazing. Some are a little bit on the artsy side. American Beauty is, I love everything about that music video that ties in with the song itself. So it's interesting to as I researched you, to kind of follow your path, is you just knew you wanted to sing, and you're like, I'll just sing everything and all of it, and you can tell you were just happy just doing it.
Thank you.
When you were little, you said you enjoyed the arts, but you weren't able to because it didn't pay. What kind of training or studying did you do with the arts when you were young?
When I was already, so my childhood happened to be in Ukraine, actually. And over there, so my grandma, she was the only one person in our family who had any connection to music. She was just a singer in a choir. So I was sort of exercising with her when I was very little. But by the age of 7, we moved, when Soviet Union collapsed, we moved to Russia. And I went to study in the musical school in my little town, and I was studying the accordion and choir, and also had a proper, opera singing training as well. And so up until my graduation from high school, I was sort of doing parallel my musical education, which was very fun.
Is there a particular genre that you're leaning more towards at current?
I love to experiment. And, the Grammy I got for the participation in an album from New Age category, which sort of like very inspiring, slow, sometimes even chanting music. Which became very, very popular in the United States lately. Actually, not just in the United States. I think all over the world, people sort of trying to slow down and, meditate. And this music sort of helps you to go and flow in this path. But I really love what I really loved, and before I sort of participated in this album, I didn't do much of the new age music. It was more experimental. I was trying, I would say I would put myself in a category of adult contemporary with different elements. There was something from, a little bit of rock, a little bit of pop, a little bit of here and there in indie, but I also write music. So for me, as the singer-songwriter, is very important, first of all, just to deliver whatever came to you as an inspiration. And then you sort of try to put it together with the music and see where it goes. After success with New Age, what I really learned for myself, I really loved this uplifting message and uplifting quality of music. So whatever I do from now on, it does have that, like everything I want to write and I want to deliver to my followers, people who love my music, is positivity. So even if it's a breakout song, it's going to be something, you will listen, you will feel better. So this is my main goal, to make sure that my music will evoke something in your heart that will make you, try to something better, be a better person. And I would say I'm moving more towards to the pop category, just because I think this kind of music needs to be heard more loudly. Like they say, when you go in the internet, there's always such a polarization there. There's people who say yes, and there's people who say no. There's people who like and people who hate. But what people don't realize, the majority of people who do all of these assumptions, that the 90% of the people, they don't even dare. They don't speak up. So and they don't think either yes or no. They on a completely different path. So and usually it's a positive path. They're actually good people, because I truly believe, my true belief is the people are generally really, really good.
Yes.
Really good. But because of this polarization, because of this noise, we sort of shy to speak up about them. So I want to be that person that will not be shy, speak up about being good, about being positive, about helping others, about, just saying we are good people.
That reminds me a lot of your more recent song, Hope.
Right.
Everything you said is in that song. I was reading, you literally recorded that in a day.
Yes.
Like it did, like, where was it? Like what was that day like, that where you woke up and you're like, this is it? Oh, I have an idea. And you're like, we got to put it out and we got to record it.
It was actually not a good day at all, because in that day something bad happened. And in news, the news were full of, there was like one of the shooting days. So it was full of bad news, full of depressing news. And I guess that was my very strong internal response. I don't want to go this path. I really don't believe that this is where we're going as the humanity. And I felt like I really wanted to record a song. So on my way to the studio, I already had an idea. I already kind of had basic melody, and the same day, the most effortless song in my life was born. It was really fast, like surprisingly, but it came from the very bottom place, not from the hopeful place.
But to show that through tragedy there's still hope, and you're like, this is, we have to do this, like we can all be part of it.
Exactly, because when something happens in our life which is not really good, we always have a choice, and the choice would be you go down or you try to pull yourself up. And this is the choice that I made, and it was a beautiful choice. And in my opinion, this is the only choice. So I really, when I was writing, I put all these intentions, all these feelings into the song Hope. And when it was out, and I posted the on a social media message, kind of asking people to contribute to this song and see if they can do something really good, like little actions. The people were sending like thousands and thousands, like little videos to me, which proved that, yes, it's out there. We have to get loud about it.
Right. So that's fantastic. That's great. I love the message of of hope and like the most basic concepts of let's just be nice to each other and be there for each other. And it's refreshing to hear a song about it, or just to be reminded to just take a step back and just be happy, and just like it's too easy to fall down these negative rabbit holes, but it's you feel better when you can go the opposite direction. So I love the song. It was great.
Thank you.
And is that going to be part of an album at all, or is it just right now just the single?
It's a single at the moment, but it will be part of the album, which will be out at the beginning of the next year. But the exciting thing that happened actually several days ago, we had an agreement with UNICEF that we donating shares from this song for them, for their program to support children affected by military conflicts around the globe.
Okay.
So this is the major development from this, little message that was in this composition originally. And starting from the end of September, starting to perform on different venues and sort of telling about this wonderful opportunity for everyone to support each other with very little action, just by listening, sort of helping yourself and helping others.
Oh, that's great. You do a lot of work within the philanthropy. You have a couple of different foundations and just programs that you like to be a part of. The one that I fell most down the rabbit hole on was for your First Gen initiative. Can you tell my listeners a little bit about that initiative?
Well, it obviously comes from my personal experience, because I firsthand can tell you how difficult it is. As welcoming as America was to me, it is very difficult to feel at home, because and I don't think this is the American problem. I've traveled quite a while, and I would say it's everywhere. When you come to a new place and you look different and you sound different, there is just almost, I don't know, primal reaction from the people. Be very careful with you. Don't trust you. Don't let you go in their circles. But I'm so fortunate to be in a position to help people and also have a platform as an artist. So obviously, as I told you, I'm a fighter by nature. So I decided to open this program, and I'm mainly focusing on supporting and uplifting voices of female immigrants just like me. And we do a lot of different little initiatives. I support individual causes, and obviously you can see it in my music. The American Beauty song with the video and the whole campaign was exactly about it. So the main goal of this initiative is just to sort of transfer the conversation about immigration from political perspective to a humane level, because at the end of the day, these are human, these are people. When you say immigrant, it's actually a person with struggles, with a lot of actually good things coming together with that. A lot of lessons that we can learn and actually benefit from. So that's my sort of main goal, to remind people about these simple things. Just listen, open their hearts, and don't be, brainwashed by some, political nonsense.
These interviews are fantastic of some of these women. Talking a little bit, like you said, about their struggles, but the things that they've accomplished is fantastic. It's amazing. The message that you guys talk about when you're together, body positivity, just female positivity, and just overcoming is inspiring, and is fantastic. That you're able to shine a light on some of those things that may be uncomfortable for others, but at the end of the tunnel, there is some positivity that comes out of
Right.
these women. They're just doing fantastic things. Are your kids into any of the philanthropy that you do?
Well, my children, they're still little.
Okay.
But they do have their own interests in. They're wonderful. They're very supportive in my music. I had a very funny story with them. When I won Grammy and I came back home that evening, I said, "Guys, I won Grammy," and they're like, "Oh, okay." But then, in a little while, I received a silver button from YouTube. When you have like certain amount of subscribers, they were insanely happy. I mean, they were celebrated the whole week. Like, "Oh, Mom, oh my gosh, I can't believe you got this button. You're now famous." I'm like, "I'm actually winning a Grammy. This is kind of like thing to celebrate." But talking about the cultural and generational differences.
Absolutely. My son, probably the same way, where he's just like, Emmys, Oscars. Technically, we were nominated for a podcast award, and then he's like, but if I was like, we hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, he's like, yeah.
Yes. It's a different generation. They're different.
Oh, that's fun. How old are your kids?
Well, I have 15, 10, and 9.
Okay. Are any of them immigrants, or were they all born U.S.?
No, they're all Americans.
Is there anything more that I can do as a podcaster, a YouTuber, as a father? Is there anything more that I could be doing to kind of help this fight for equality for women? Like what more should I be doing, or our listeners be doing to kind of help, fight against the inequality that you guys are facing?
I could tell you from the immigrant perspective, which might be a little bit refreshing, because, I really love what's happening in the United States and all this optimism towards female and, support and talks, sadly, sometimes more talks than support itself, but you have to start from somewhere. But one thing for me, is a little bit surprising, and I think actually even people in the United States starting sort of understanding that, I wish that with this absolutely wonderful and needed support for female, we wouldn't be putting any labels and pressure, because that comes with the consequences, and there are some people that they might want to stay home and be home mom, but they're pressured to go and, open the company or do something. I would just probably remind people that the main thing you have here in America, which nobody else have in the world, is the fundamental right to choose. This is the thing that you want to keep guarding and protecting for whatever it costs. We need to have a chance to choose, like sincerely choose. If I want to do that, yes. If I want to go and be president, yes, I want to go. But if I don't want to go, I don't want to be pushed. I don't want to be shamed for that. And sometimes I see this, overlapping in order to support female. There is shaming happening for someone who maybe doesn't see it as a part, but people are different. We all come with a different purpose, with different desires, with different qualities. So this is something that I would probably throw into this conversation, but you're doing everything wonderful. Ben, I mean, talking about this is very important. Right. So, I would say, if you have daughters in your family, if you care about your wives, just listen to them, see what they can bring to the table. Very often we know what they want, but sometimes, and we have their voice, sometimes we just not paid attention to.
What kind of advice do you have for our young listeners in the audience that are scared about pursuing the things that they enjoy, the things that they love? They like to dance, they like journalism, but they're scared to do it. What kind of advice do we have for them?
The same advice I give for my children every single day. First of all, you probably know what talent you have. And if you have something given, it was given to you by God or whatever you believe in on purpose. Do not dig it into the ground. Raise it, nourish it, put the water in it, and go ahead. And if you didn't figure out quite where is your path goes to, the only way you will fail if you will not moving forward. So you always have to be moving forward. And even if it will not work out exactly as you thought it should be, it might be because you have a bigger something ahead of you. So moving forward, believing in yourself, don't listen to anyone. Literally, don't listen to anyone. There is always going to be people around you and someone inside you telling you not good enough. This is the wrong path. Always only forward.
With the podcast, we do another show called Whimsy with the Z, where I've gathered 6 teenagers, as low as 11 to 17, 3 boys, 3 girls. And the idea is I want to try and just get to know them more as individuals. And what is it like to be a kid today versus, comparing to what I have. And talking to them, there's definitely some, like, they're unsure of what they want to do, or, they hold back. So with them, 100%, and with this podcast, anybody who has any passion for anything,
right,
come on my show, come talk to me, send me an email, because I'm 41 years old and I'm podcasting and I'm a YouTuber. And 2 years ago, I'd have been like, that is the silliest thing in the world to do. But you reinvented yourself. I found like this comfort in reinventing myself, just doing the silly things that I enjoy.
right.
And that's my favorite thing. So anybody listening, kids, adults, even any weird, stupid idea you have, absolutely, just please reach out, because I'll support you on the podcast. And I just like the idea of, just like you said, just don't worry about what everybody else says.
Oh, absolutely. If you will look at the history of humanity, you will see that very often the most silliest ideas actually did something amazing. There was a person once upon a time that decided that he wanted to fly.
Right.
And he was the stupidest person in the village, but
right.
now we have planes. So, I mean, yes, whatever idea you have, it came for you for a reason.
I love that idea of, like, I have it and, like, I'm supposed to have it and do something with it. I think that's all I have for you today. Where can we hear your music? Where can we find you?
I'm on social media. I'm on Instagram, ALYA Michelson, ALYA the artist on TikTok, ALYA official on YouTube, and all streaming platform, whatever you listen, Spotify, Apple Music, whatever you use, I'm everywhere. My name is ALYA, and I again kind of reminding that the song that I would recommend everybody to hear right now, to listen, is The Hope, because every purchase, every stream will make a difference for the wonderful organization UNICEF, for the people, the children that don't have a voices. So this is sort of voice for them. That's a beautiful song. Please go listen to that. And if you just in a silly dancing mood, I had a song for that too. I just released a couple weeks ago, a song If You Only Knew, which is beautiful, like retro pop sort of sound. I had a lot of fun with that. It's very pinky, very glittery. So you can do that too. Whatever will bring you joy. I'm very happy if you will discover me, and hopefully we will be friends.
Great. I can't thank you enough for coming on and chatting with me today. Your story of how you came to the U.S. and just your passion, not just for my son and daughter, but anybody listening, if they can just take a piece of that and find that inspiration to just do something, just their special, this would have all been worth it. I hope that we have you back on again. I'm still researching you. You're fascinating enough that I'd like to get to know more about some of the different causes that you're part of. But yeah, definitely when your new album drops, I'd love to have you back on and talk about that process.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it, Ben. It was so fun.
Well, you have a great rest of the evening, and you have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Whimsy.